My name is Parker,
I'm Seid.
And this is Mike.
and you're listening to the Try Hard podcast.
Yeah, and if we need a jingle for the beginning, reach out to Ari Clow.
Well, would you look at that? I think this is officially the first ever episode, that's what you call the podcast, right? Podcast episode of the Try Hard podcast. Welcome everyone. Whoever is listening, hopefully it's more than just my mom and dad and family group chat that I send this to. But yeah, joining me today, as you guys heard, my name is Parker, and I have two of my athletes and great friends, Seid and Mike, joining me. Seid, Mike, you guys want to say hi and anything else to kick this show off?
Hey guys, I'm excited to start this podcast. It's my first podcast, so excited to dive into all things tri related.
Yeah, same for me. First podcast, kind of started as a joke in our group message. Didn't think it anything, and hopefully after we record a couple episodes, maybe we'll gain some traction, and a year from now we'll look back and be like, hey, remember that idea of starting a podcast? So this should be fun.
I guess we can kind of go into what this podcast is going to be about. For those of you that don't know who Seid, Mike, and I are, we're all triathletes on the NVDM team, and we just kind of thought it'd be fun to, sit down and chat once a week or so and kind of talk about training, any races we have coming up, really anything and everything triathlon related. We're going to be bringing on some guests. Actually, our first guest is funny enough. So I put a poll on my Instagram page, asking who would listen to a podcast with me, Mike, and Seid, and everyone except for Ryan Triathlon voted yes. And I think Ryan Triathlon will be our first guest, but I did talk to him, and he said that the only reason he voted no was because he was not invited to be on this podcast as a normal host. But then I told him that the criteria for this podcast were that you had to be one of my athletes. So then he felt a little bit better. All right. And this is our very first podcast episode. I have done one podcast in the past before. For those of you that are unaware, the Fast Foodies YouTube channel actually used to be a podcast before it was a YouTube channel. So I have a little bit of experience with podcasting, but that was close to 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, so we're all pretty brand new then, I feel like, huh?
I would say so, seeing as this is both of your guys' first podcast.
Yep.
Yeah,
so if you guys, what we're saying?
Oh yeah, certainly. It's gonna be fun though. So Seid, I don't know much about your background before you got into tri, or did you have a background in the three disciplines before you got started?
No, not at all. So I'm actually really new to tri. So I started working with Parker in June of 23. So all my life I was always athletic, and I always did sports, but I mainly focused on basketball. So I played basketball my whole life. 4 years varsity basketball player. I was either D1 or bust. So clearly I busted, didn't play basketball in college. Then I took a hiatus from sports and all that. And then got into triathlon, as I said, in the middle of 23. But that all started with, so I was just big into lifting during college, and then I decided to run a marathon, start of 2023. So I did Shamrock Marathon in May, which is in Virginia Beach. I did pretty well because I had 8 weeks of training. I didn't really have any run background, so I ran a 3:26 with no Garmin, no heart chest strap, no nothing. I just had an app, just followed my runs at 8 weeks, ran it, and it was super fun.
Did you run the marathon without a Garmin?
Yeah, no Garmin.
Really? The actual marathon?
Yep, I ran it with my phone. So I had my nutrition belt. I had my phone in it. So I had my splits from that still. So that was recorded with the Nike app. That was before even Strava or anything. I didn't even have Strava or none of that stuff. I really enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, I want to keep challenging myself doing this. And then two of my buddies, my college buddies, were actually training for. They're originally going to do Ironman Maryland because I'm based in the DC area, so that's the closest Ironman near us. But then they didn't have enough training time, so they moved to Ironman Florida. So my buddy Reagan, he actually he's a pretty knows Natasha pretty well. So they both joined MVDM and they were like training with them. And so they were already training for, I think they trained with MVDM starting the beginning of 23. So I did my marathon block and I really enjoyed it. And I started talking to both of them regarding triathlon, and they showed me the training peaks, and I was like, oh my God, this looks like crazy. And then after that, like I had FaceTime, I had calls, both of them. They showed me their training peaks, and I was like, oh, I want to do this. After that day, ordered my Garmin, ordered my chest strap, and then I did a couple. I think I did 1 month or 2 months of like base training, and just hopped in right with Parker. So yeah, I'm like still really new to training. So I guess what is it now? 7 full months of training. And I had zero swim background, no cycling background, and just that one marathon block, I guess. So that's how I started with Tri.
And how old are you, Seid?
I'm 20. So I just turned 23. I just graduated college in May.
Great. And so, yeah, funny story about Seid, actually. Natasha texts me, she says, hey, Parker, I got this young kid. I think he'd be a great match for you. Do you want to start working with him? I said, sure, why not? Let's get it going. And right off the block, Seid texts me. He's like, I know we're doing triathlon, but I'm going on vacation here. And this is literally like within the first, 5 days of meeting or talking with Seid. So I have really no idea about this guy. Usually whenever I get a new athlete, I start them off with kind of an easy recovery week, 1 to 2 runs, 30 to 40 minutes, a swim, maybe a bike, just so I get a handle on them, so I know what their experience level is, whatever the case may be. But here comes this 22-year-old, 23-year-old. He's like, hey, Parker, I'm going on vacation for 10 days. I'm not going to have access to a pool or a bike. I want to run 100 miles in 10 days. So do whatever you want to do, but I'm running 100 miles in 10 days. I'm like, okay. I told him, like, this is not the risk of injury. And I asked him before, I'm like, so have you been running a lot leading up to this? He's like, no, not really. But yeah, I just want to run 100 miles, destroy my legs. I'm pretty sure that's like, is that what you said? That's pretty much what you said, isn't it?
Yep. That's exactly what I said. I remember that.
Yeah, it looks like that story scared Mike away. I'm not sure what happened to him. But yeah, so and that kind of sums up everything you need to know about Seid. He is one of the hardest working athletes I have, and that's not it's a good thing, but it's also, he's also one of the only athletes I need to tell no to. But and I'm the same way. Natasha, it says the same stuff to me. So I have loved working with Seid, and you did your first, and I will give you kudos, or I will compliment you on the fact that you have gotten much, much better on, even just, for example, today, I gave Seid the option of doing a hard VO2 interval workout or an easier workout. And I said, Seid, listen to your body, do what your body is telling you to do. And well, wouldn't you know it, he did as he should have, unlike Mike, which we'll get to here very shortly. But yeah, you did the easier workout today, didn't you?
Yep, I did, and that's like a new thing for me too. Because like as you said, like I was like brand new, so I just thought like you just have to destroy your body each training session. So I'd really just go all in every time, and that like stuck with me like until recently. I would say maybe like I'm only like really getting a grasp on that like probably the past 2 to 3 weeks. So I just always go as hard as I could, but now I just realized like that's not sustainable at all. And I also realized during Ironman Florida, so that was my first race. I was training for Ironman Florida. Like during Ironman Florida, during the run, Natasha was biking with me for the last like 2 to 3 miles, and I just kept like thinking in my head, "Oh, this is so embarrassing." I'm just like clearly not ready. I haven't trained enough, and that's like I think that's what like why I want to go hard, because like I'm just like still new and I want to catch up on my training. But, like I'm not gonna actually catch up on training by training hard. It's like I'm gonna catch up by training smart. So that's what I'm finally I'm starting to realize.
Yep, it's consistency over hero workouts, and I still struggle with that myself. All right, thanks, Seid, for that introduction. And yes, his name is pronounced Seid. It took me about the first 5 months of working with him to learn that it's not Seid, it's Seid. There you go. All right, Mike, you want to go next? Kind of give a short intro and say, yeah, how you started your triathlon. I actually don't even know that much about. I know a little bit, but yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so I played competitive golf pretty much my whole life. Played junior golf on the national scale for um, pretty much, well, all the way up till college. Got recruited to a couple really good schools and kind of made the decision that was never gonna even attempt to go pro. So instead of going to a school where the only focus would have been golf over academics, I ended up going with picking Cornell. Went there, focused on my education. I did play golf there and had a pretty good experience with that. I love my time on the team. But I graduated, I'm 26, so I graduated in 2020, right when COVID hit. And
Oh
COVID,
wait, Mike, and when is your birthday?
February 23rd, coming
So
up.
funny thing, mine's actually February 27th. I forgot to tell
Oh,
you,
wow.
but very close
Oh,
to each other. Yeah.
nice, nice. So yeah, COVID shut down our golf season. And it was like right at that point where I was like, I really enjoy biking and running. And I had a road bike at the time, and I just didn't know how to swim. And my girlfriend was a swimmer on the Cornell swim team, and I started to get to know the Cornell swimmers pretty well, and they all were pretty encouraging. They were like, yeah, just, get in and swim. And I'll never forget the first swim at college. I got in and I was wearing board shorts, and the lifeguard just didn't stop looking at me the entire time because I couldn't make it down one length of the pool without having to grab the wall. I thought I was going to drown. I could like doggy paddle, but definitely could not swim normal freestyle. So at once I graduated, I reached out to my former like strength and conditioning coach from high school. He worked with me from the age of 12 till and even a little bit through college. He was like a longtime family friend, who also happened to be a USA Triathlon coach. So he and I started working together, and from 2020 there was no races, so I just got like a whole year to train, which was really nice. And I remember going out on my first like low heart rate run, and to keep my heart rate under like 150 beats a minute, I was running like jogging or walking really like 13-minute miles. And I was like, oh, this is terrible. I'm used to like going out and trying to run like 7:20 a mile or 7:30 a mile. And it was a very different experience than I thought it would be. So I worked with my former coach, Eric, for 3 years up until this past summer. And I had two bad races, and I was like, maybe I need to make a change. I still stay in touch with him. He and I are good friends, but I started looking for coaches, and like ironically, Parker's timing was impeccable. And he was in my Instagram DMs, and he's like, "Hey, are you looking for a new coach?" And I was
So
like,
really quick. There's probably I know on Spotify there's any questions you have. But if anyone's listening, I want you guys to either DM me or swipe up on this podcast and let me know if I have slid into your DMs asking if you have a coach. I have done that quite a few times, but it's all about the hustle. And speaking of which, if you don't have a coach and you're looking for a coach, let me know. My email's parker@nvdmcoaching.com. But yes, I'm always actually now my roster's pretty full. But yeah. All right,
yeah,
Mike.
so yeah, we'll always get a Parker coaching plug somewhere in the podcast,
Yep.
I'm sure. But yeah, I remember I was sitting in the Detroit airport DMing you, and I was like, yeah, let's start working together after the World Championship. I wanted to finish out my season with my coach. Did that, and then Parker and I started working together in like September, October time. And since working together, it's been really good. Like I did have a pretty good aerobic base, or at least foundation in triathlon. Like I'd done 11 70.3s up to this point and made it to 3 world championships for the half Ironman. But the gains that Parker and I have made together in the last what 5 6 months now, it
Not
have
even
been
6 months.
not even, yeah,
We
it's
started
like
in,
what,
we started
4
in
months.
October. No,
Yeah.
October, November, end of
Yeah,
October.
it's only 4 months. Yeah, it's only
Yeah,
4 months.
November,
Actually.
November, January, November, December, January. Yeah, 4 months.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, I've made pretty crazy gains with Parker in that short amount of time. Like similar, it just reminds me of like newbie gains when you get into the sport or if you get into strength training. So yeah, it's been good. And yeah, Parker and I originally met though in St. George, Utah. I don't know if you remember Parker, but
I
I went up to you. I knew you from Instagram, just following along to your stuff, and I came up to you in transition, and I remember I'm gonna go find it on your Instagram. I made it into one of your fast foodie like Instagram reels or shorts or something. Yeah, you were like, what are you gonna do after? What are you gonna eat after the race?
Oh, crumble cookie. It had to be a crumble
Yeah,
cookie.
I said crumble cookies because I knew that was your favorite, and I'd never had them, and they had a place in St. George, so I was like, gotta get it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of my story with triathlon. Actually, my first triathlon experience was when I was 8 years old, but it wasn't like your traditional swim, bike, run. It was a team relay race of bike, run, and then canoe. And I was one of the canoers, and my friends and I did that. Yeah. And after that, I was like, I'm never canoeing ever again. I hate it. And I did it a couple more times, but as the cyclist. And that's where I really got into like loving cycling and eventually wanted to go into triathlon.
Sweet. Yeah, so even though I don't remember Mike coming up to me at transition at her race, I do love it when people do come up to me and say hi. I always feel like such a celebrity. You know, it's I had one time it was at 70.3 Worlds, and these two guys from France come up to me like, "Yeah, are you Parker?" Or maybe it was Switzerland. I forget, but they start talking like, "Yeah, we follow you on YouTube." And then another funny story. You guys know Gabe Chalut?
Yep.
So the way he actually got on NVDM was I posted a video recap of 70.3 Worlds on YouTube. And in that video, I talk about how me and this one guy, I don't know who the guy was, we were trading, or like he would be in front of me on the bike, then I were kind of trading places. And then I don't know, a week or a few days after I posted this, someone comments saying, "Hey, I'm that guy that you're talking about," and it ended up being Gabe. And so that's how we kind of met. Now, what did you know? You know, 1 year later, he's one of the top NVDM athletes. So that's always a fun story I like to share.
Nice. Well, Parker, talk about your background a little bit. I think Seid and I know a little bit about it, but it's nice to hear it from you.
Yeah, so I'm similar to both Mike and Seid. Actually, none of us have really any triathlon experience. I was actually a wrestler in high school. Well, okay, so growing up, I played every sport. I played primarily soccer up until my sophomore year of high school, and then junior year I quit to focus on wrestling. But I played soccer, lacrosse. I did a little bit of cross country and track in middle school. What else? I played tennis my senior year of high school. But lacrosse, wrestling, and soccer were probably my 3 biggest sports. I did gymnastics for 2 years as well in high school. But yeah, going through high school, I was primarily a wrestler. I lived in the weight room. I loved wrestling. Up until my senior year of high school. That's actually, I ended up quitting wrestling halfway through my senior year because the biggest reason was cutting weight and my relationship with the coach. I was having to drop, 10 pounds to wrestle on varsity. I was, a 500 varsity wrestler, so they're right on average, nothing special. But I wasn't getting along too well with the coach. And yeah, I was just tired of it. So I decided to quit, and I started practicing tennis, and I went out for the tennis team, and I made varsity. I think I think that tells you the level of our high school tennis team right there. But the way I got into triathlon was actually I started running in high school to cut weight for wrestling. Yeah, I'd be on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever it may be, running in sweats. I remember actually we would have afternoon lifts after wrestling practice. And I would call and we lived about 2.5 miles away from our house, or from high school. And so I would call my mom, or dad, asking them to come pick up my backpack so I could run home after wrestling, after lifts. and I would run home by myself on the trail. After I'm saying so many times, I know my dad is watching this. But anyway, yeah, long story short, I hated running. You know, I had to do it to cut weight and I did not like it whatsoever. However, I found that as soon as I didn't have to do it anymore to cut weight for wrestling, I actually kind of started enjoying it. And then I ended up going to school in Colorado College in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Say that 5 times fast. And the trail system out there was incredible. You know, you're outdoors. Yeah, we literally had a trail right outside the campus. And I just had the habits already formed of lifting in the morning, going to class, and then training again in the afternoon. So, you know, people look at my training schedule now, they're like, Parker, how do you work out so much? I'm like, for me, it's kind of like breathing. You know, I've been doing this, I've been doing doubles literally since, 15 years old. And so for me, it's really nothing new. You know, you wake up, you work out, you do something, and then you work out again, and then you go to bed. That's kind of how I always trained and always lived, really. So much so that even in college, I would be waking up 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, going for a run, and then lifting weights in the afternoon. And I actually got referred to one of the counselors there because they wanted to limit my time in the gym because they're afraid I had an exercise addiction. I'm not making this up. I actually had to get blood draw done, like blood test taken to make sure that I was healthy enough. Otherwise, they were going to limit because they were afraid I was exercising too much. Otherwise, they said, you can only be in here for an hour or so. So that happened, I think, the end of my sophomore and junior year of college. And I remember after that, incident, whenever I'd go into the gym, me and the head gym lady or whatever, I'd always be super like afraid of her. I'd always, check my watch when I walk in once he saw me, and I'll see like, okay, I don't want to be here for too long. And I try to work out where she wasn't, so she wouldn't see what I was doing. But yeah, so I've always loved exercising. And I think it's safe to say I definitely do have an exercise addiction. I come from, I've had family history with addictive personalities. And so mine happens to be exercise. But the place where triathlon comes in is, well, I actually started running, and, I was running a lot. By the end of my junior year of college, I was running close to 70, 80 miles a week just because I liked running. And, well, whenever you do anything a lot, you get somewhat good at it, whether, you're trying to or not. And so I got kind of fast. And so I decided I walked on the Colorado College D3 cross country team my junior year, I believe. That was, my junior year. So that was the year before COVID. But that was honestly just so I had people to run with. I was not competitive whatsoever. I was literally at the bottom of the pack. The main reason I did it was, as I said, I had people to run with, but I would still be lifting 5 days a week, trying to run 80 miles a week. And, wouldn't you know it, I got injured from running too much. It happened once, and then it ended up happening again. The second time it happened wasn't actually at college, though. It was during a summer internship I had at Garmin. So for those of you that aren't aware, I used to be a software engineer at Garmin, and before I landed my full-time position there, I had a summer internship. And me and my great friend Johnny, who was actually the co-host of the Fast Foodies podcast, that's where that started. We started running, and we were running, and we decided on, I think it was like July 4th or whatever, let's go run a marathon, because why not? And, mile 16, 17 comes around, and my knee starts bugging me. But, I'm kind of like Seid and Mike. When I say something, I want to finish it. I want to do it. So I say, screw it, whatever. I'll finish this, and then I'll rest later. Little did I know that rest later would be like 3 months of rest. I literally finished that run, and the next day I was on crutches. I couldn't walk. I had severe IT band syndrome, runner's knee, whatever you want to call it. And so I really couldn't run. But then again, you have to remember that I was kind of addicted to running. So what am I going to do now? Well, I work at Garmin. Garmin makes bike trainers. I have an employee discount. 1 + 1 = Parker gets a bike trainer. So I got a bike trainer. Literally, I think within 2-3 days, we got the bike. Well, actually, it took like a week for me to figure out how to set up the darn thing. I got the Tax Neo TT. And yeah, instead of running, for an hour and a half before work, I would be on Zwift for an hour and a half before work. And so I think there are a few weeks where I was logging close to 500 miles on Zwift a week. And I got burnt out so fast. Let me tell you, coming from never being on Zwift to suddenly being on Zwift, and I didn't really know programming. All I knew was, let's work out, let's have fun. And so I would literally do race after race after race. Like I'd wake up every day and just do another race. And man, I got so tired. But yeah, so I'd Zwift, and then I would take my bike off the trainer, bike to work, lift, come back, and Zwift again. I got my transition time pretty quick. I think I like from getting my bike off the trainer onto my wheel, I got it down to like a minute or two. I don't know. I was good at it. Yeah. But anyway, so that's how I started biking. And then when COVID hit my senior year, I came back home from college. And my dad was actually a swimmer. He swam D3 at Kenyon College, kind of like I ran. He did it for 1 year, 1 or 2 years, and he was okay. He was a big water polo player. He was really good in high school. I think I'm not sure if he won state, but he placed in state. And I always knew of triathlon. My neighbor actually did Ironman. When the first time I ever heard what an Ironman was, I'm like, no way in the world can anyone do that. I just seemed like running a marathon after biking, after swimming. No way, not possible. But anyway, I always knew what a triathlon was, and I wanted to finish my senior year of college doing some big event because I did at the end of my sophomore year, I think I ran the Pikes Peak Marathon, which is, you run up the Pikes Peak in Colorado, which is a 13,000 foot mountain. So you run 13 miles up, 13 miles down. And then the end of my junior year, I did a 50K, which actually ended up being canceled due to COVID. So I ran 31 miles here on my prairie path. And then, yeah, so senior year, I actually wanted to finish doing an Ironman. I want to do some big event. And so that's actually how I came across Natasha and NVDM is because, well, since I'm a weightlifter, I always kind of navigated or, got drawn to the hybrid athlete. And so I started watching Nick Bear, who at that time was training for Ironman Florida. And yeah, I was watching what they're doing. I actually did a lot of the similar workouts. I'd see what Nick would do, and then I'll try to do the same workout on my own. And so I was planning to do an Ironman to cap off my senior year of college. But since that's kind of when COVID ended, everyone wanted to do Ironman. So all the Ironman races were sold out. So I ended up signing up for 70.3 Gulf Coast, which is actually where I met Ryan Triathlon, Ryan Kate. And yeah, I had my first race there and it went much better. I was self-coached up until that point. I trained for it on the Peloton we had downstairs. I'd swim at my local gym. I really didn't have any swimming background besides what my dad taught me. So, I was swimming. I think I was looking at Seid's paces from when he started, and I was actually very similar. Swimming 145, 140s, 135 would be like threshold for me. Granted, I'm still not a swimmer, but I'm not that much of a non-swimmer now. But anyway, yeah. So my first race went pretty well. I think like fourth or fifth in my age group. I qualified for 70.3 Worlds. Oh wow, I qualified for the World Championships in my first ever triathlon. I may be pretty good at this. And so actually, I posted my run split, which I think it still may be my 70.3 PR run. No, I think I ran faster at Galveston, but I think it's still my second fastest ever 70.3 run split. I think I averaged like a 6-minute pace or something like that. And I was shooting for like 6:30. And so I posted that on my Instagram story. And I think Natasha, I'm not sure if I sent it to Natasha or how she saw it. But anyway, she was very impressed with it. I think I sent it to her. I tagged her. And I'm like, there's no way she's gonna. Because I thought of her as kind of like the celebrity, like Natasha Vandermeer, the Nick Bear coach, So I thought there's no way she's gonna see it. And then anyway, she responded. She's like, wow, that's really impressive. And I kind of talked to her back and forth, and yeah, decided to start working with her for 70.3 Worlds. And the rest is kind of history. I didn't start as a coach right away, but we can maybe talk about that in a separate episode of how I started coaching with NVDM. But yeah, it's kind of my triathlon journey.
Did you have a tri bike in your first race, or did you do it on a road bike?
I did. So actually, I trained on a road bike with clip-ons, but then I actually rented a tri bike from Race Day Wheels there. So I rented it was a Cervelo P3, I want to say, or a Cervelo. It was the lower end Cervelo.
Yeah. That's crazy. I had, my first race, similar experience where like I had a bike because I had like a whole year worth of bike training before that, but I placed fourth, qualified for Worlds, and I was like, wow, like maybe I'm actually pretty decent at this sport. And then I got humbled really quickly at St. George my first time around.
Oh yeah, no, that was quite the experience. What was when? So did you do it? What year did you do it?
2021, 2022, and then Finland this year. So I think we were there together both years.
Yeah, yeah. This 2022 the hailstorm.
2021 was the hailstorm. 2022 was the
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
35 degree
Yeah.
air temp. The water was warmer than the air temp by like 20, 30 degrees.
I've not had a good race at St. George yet. Yeah. Yeah, we had that one hailstorm in 2021, and then 2022 I had a horrible, not a horrible, I had a bad day too. But yeah,
I think I remember you were throwing up the night before.
That was before the World Championship. That was before the full.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the epic Parker Jameson battle. That was a fun one. Oh wait, Mike, I was going to ask you, with your golfing background, do you think you're a better golfer than Lionel Sanders?
Yeah. I'll challenge if Lionel ever hears this, I would 100% challenge Lionel to a match.
Well, there it is, Lionel. All right. Well, I think we did segments that were planned for today, but since this is the first episode, I think we should maybe wrap it up there. I don't know, Seid, is there anything? Oh, wait, one more thing. Mike has to say what you did today.
Am I in trouble?
Yeah, Mike. So if you guys were listening at the beginning, we're all talking how Seid's becoming a much better athlete, how he's not overtraining, being smart. And well, I always thought Mike was a good athlete. I thought he already knew that, but yeah, Mike, you want to tell everyone?
Usually I listen to Parker, and in my defense, you didn't tell me I can't retest today. You just said you could retest eventually. So I took that as I'll do it 8 or 9 hours later. But I had a ramp test this morning, didn't go very well. Thought about it all day, and then as soon as I got done with work, I hopped back on the bike and tried it again.
I didn't even look at the results though. So what was your FT? You said your results for the second time, but you didn't tell me what you got the first time.
Oh, the first time I failed after 380 watts. So like it said my FTP was like 285. And I'm like, I know it's more than that because I held higher power than that for over an hour this weekend during a workout. So that doesn't make any sense. And I just was fatigued. But then, the second result was like 303. And it was better, but still not, I don't think it's reflective of my bike fitness right now. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
And should we want to off like what we're planning to race this year as the first intro, so everyone knows what we're training for? Or should we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's an idea. We'll just quickly go over races for this year.
Okay, sweet. So I currently have Texas. Texas, my first race, and then Maryland.
Ironman Texas, correct?
Yep, Ironman Texas, then Ironman Maryland. So those are my two races. Ironman Maryland is definitely like my A race of the year. And then depending on how Texas goes, I might throw in Eagle Man. So Maryland 70.3 in between there. But we'll see how Texas goes.
Nice. So I was going to be joining you guys at Ironman Texas, but probably unlikely with how my ankle has been progressing in running. But it is getting better. Today was
how many more days do we have until we have a final decision?
Actually like a little under a month from today but like that's like the deadline to get your transfer accepted. So I gotta make a decision probably like this week or next week, so that they can start that process. But definitely doing Lake Placid. That's going to be my A race of the season. And then if I am able to transfer Texas, I'm going to move that to Ironman Maryland. So I'll join Seid there and we can race together.
Yep.
Watch out for the jellyfish.
Oh yeah.
All right. And I am currently training for Ironman Texas as well. And then I will be doing Ironman Kona, the World Championships in October. So those are really the two big races I have. I will do a 70.3 in the summer. Still haven't decided which one. I am most likely going to do a local one. I think it's Door County 70.3 up in Wisconsin. I don't think I want to do an Ironman branded one just because of the cost and the travel and whatnot. So yeah, thinking of doing that race. And then probably not another race. Maybe depending on how Kona goes, maybe I'll throw in one at the end of the year. But I plan on doing a few training camps during the summer as well, which are pretty much like a race. So there's that.
Good.
All right. Well, there you guys go. The first episode of the Try Hard podcast with a little asterisk. I know we'll see if that name sticks. I kind of like it. The logo, isn't that a pretty good logo?
Yeah, solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with myself. I threw that together at 4:30 this morning. I went to bed at 7:00 last night. I woke up at like 4. I'm like, oh, the pool doesn't open for another 45 minutes, an hour, which I do. So I threw a little logo together. But yeah, we'll see if that sticks. And if you guys want to hear more, would love it if you could subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. Drop a comment or a rating or comment what you guys want to hear more of. Any suggestions, we are more than happy to listen, and I'll throw our social medias in the description box. You can send us a DM. Say it. I know you have 2 Instagrams. Which one?
Oh, just my main one.
Main one. Are you still going to use the Bosnian Butcher?
No, the Bosnian Butcher is like my meme training page just for myself.
All right. Yeah. So I'll throw our Instagrams in the description. And yeah, shoot us a message. We will probably actually be doing a Q&A as well. So if you guys ever have any questions, let us know. And yeah, I think that wraps it up. Any last words, gentlemen?
No. Just looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about next one will be kind of like a week of training and review. So we'll go over some workouts we had, how they went, if we got destroyed or destroyed them. So that's always fun to chat about. All right. I'll catch you guys back here. And I also forgot to mention, I don't know how much editing will go into these. We'll see. Probably kind of depends on how popular they get. The more popular they get, the more work will go into editing these. So if you guys want better quality, then share it.
Yeah. And if we need a jingle for the beginning, reach out to Ari Clow.
Yeah, Ari, if you're listening, we could use something. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
See you guys.